I can't think of anything worse than being told no when I go to sell my silver. But that's exactly what's happening in some links in the retail supply chain with regards to this metal. We're going to talk about what's causing this and how we can be prepared and what we should do to protect ourselves in times like this. Let's explore. Believe it or not, there is a pretty big surplus of some of the items that you see here before you, in the form of bars, rounds, coins, and even what is known as spending silver generally, or if you live in the United States, constitutional silver, or junk silver as it's called as well. Nonetheless, selling it is going to become harder and harder, especially if you want to get at least spot price for the metal. I'm going to be referencing a video by Vermilion Enterprises that was shared over at Silver Wolverine's community tab. And this is an eye-opening revelation. Now, I do like to post videos about silver in all different areas and aspects and arguments for the metal. And this is one of those where we have to be realistic about what's going on in the silver market, because there are ebbs and flows in the silver market right now. And right now there is a pretty big silver surplus now. There's a silver surplus of products like you see here. And but the market does just kind of spin around and round. And we remember the silver squeeze, the silver shortage, which was fairly short-lived, but demand for products was very, very high, and the supply was constrained because of things like the coronavirus pandemic, and some of that had went on for quite a while. But right now, we can officially report that indeed, according to this video by Vermilion Enterprises, who has connections nationwide, there is just not much demand for silver. In fact, he himself anecdotally sees about, probably about 90% of people coming in his shop wanting to sell their silver, and about 10% who want to buy. Not many buyers. People are feeling the effects of inflation. And so some of these people that maybe have bought silver during the pandemic and during the supply squeeze, well, some of them are probably selling, and others, they need to sell because of the inflation that we're seeing with the dollar right now. And so that is what silver's there for. It's there to sell if you need to. But we have to keep in mind, sometimes in the markets where there is an influx and so many people that are wanting to sell, there's just too much out there. Too many sellers, not enough buyers. And this is one of the reasons why we've been seeing premiums collapse on some of the silver that we thought we'd never see in this day and age, because of all the new stackers that have come into place here in the last 3 years or so. But some of them are having to sell their silver. It's pretty remarkable. It's pretty amazing to see how quickly, in some sense, things are turning around. Now, there is some nuance in this. Things like bars and the privately issued rounds and the like. Some of that stuff is just they're not wanting it. In fact, the distributors are saying no, completely, just flat out no. We don't want to buy it, or they want to offload it onto bullion dealers at 10 cents an ounce above spot, and they're saying no. They don't need it. They can't sell it. So that's the kind of market we're starting to see now, and it's pretty remarkable. Now, the thing is, this is just like in the real estate market. Really, there's not much difference here. You can have a surplus of housing or a deficit in housing, and the market's going to react to that. That is not inflation, by the way, and in a sense, it's also not deflation. Those terms are tied to specifically what central banks do to print more in an extra supply of currency that's out there. But nonetheless, these are trying times, and this is the kind of market you don't want to be in if you're a seller of silver, which is why I've always said you should hold on to your silver and be realistic about the metal. There's plenty of it out there. Now, that's in the retail side, in the form of again, coins, rounds, and bars. What about on the industrial side? Well, right now it appears to be there's a surplus there as well, but we could come into a situation where we see it work against the retail market, where we see a shortage of silver for industrial uses, and maybe a surplus of silver in the form that you see before you here, spinning. That's quite a possibility. And this, I think we're starting to see some of that to a degree, as I've heard local coin shops and folks say that when that occurs, any kind of product that comes in, like just a privately issued bar, something like this, where it's literally generic, you can't see, don't know who the manufacturer of it is, doesn't say on there, or even if it does, there's just so much of it out there, they just take it and send it to the refiner for melted for scrap, like they would for extra silverware and things like that. They just melt it down. Could that happen with some constitutional silver? I don't know. But I tell you what, I've seen a lot more constitutional silver available on my local coin shop. People bringing it in and selling it. But still, I think there's still enough demand for it that it's probably less likely, or that would be the last type of silver that would be sent to be melted down, because there has been cases where silver dollars, silver half dollars, and quarters and dimes have been melted down in order to meet that other kind of demand, industrial demand. But folks, I think right now we are at a special and unique time for silver, where both industrial demand is down and supply is up on the industrial side and also on the retail side of the silver market. And these are the times that we have to just kind of power through and understand that this is part of what happens in a market. And it's something that we probably should have seen that was going to be coming down the pike, because people are selling, because I've been hearing about it for a while, that people aren't buying as much silver and they're selling their silver that they have because just to make ends meet because of inflation. And that is what's behind it. Does not take away from what silver has proven itself to be for thousands of years, but look at the amount of people there are in the world and out here in the United States as well too. And we get new stackers that come into play, and they're selling their silver. Some of them need to sell it. If you can, by any stretch or any way, hold on to your silver, I would do so through this type of market, because you don't want to sell your silver for below spot. But I remember where it was pretty much regular throughout the mid part of the last decade, where it was a regular thing for any kind of generic or privately issued silver. It was sold at a percentage below spot. We're starting to see that again, if some of these local coin shops will take it. We could come a point in time where they just won't take your silver. Already, in some aspects, for some distributors, they are not. And this is the reality we find ourselves in. So the ebb and flow of the silver market is something that we have to take into account. It is something that we see, because remember, just months ago, and into last year as well too, you couldn't find some silver products. It was very difficult, and you've been hearing about people buying huge orders, bulk orders of silver and gold as well too. But nowadays, it's not the case, and I think this is a sign of things to come in the economy. By the way, the coming recession, and the real pain people are feeling because of inflation. Sooner or later, that's going to reflect in the actual numbers from the OMB, or from the Bureau of Labor Statistics and other three-letter agencies. We're going to see these numbers reflected there. And we're going to see also things like tax revenues come down because people aren't earning as much, or they've lost their jobs. And, there's a lot of things. There's a lot of reasons to be concerned here. And for the short term, and maybe even medium term, silver's price may suffer because of this, which is why I'm less and less optimistic that we're going to see silver's price hit $28 an ounce. Now, I'm recording this video and during a market pause. In other words, it's the weekend, and the day before, silver's price did spike up, but I think it's going to fall right back down, because these knee-jerk reactions in the market are something we have to come to grips with, which is one of the reasons why I like to do market reports, so that we can help make sense of what happens and why it occurs. A lot of it is based off of psychology. And when you think about it, silver becomes a lot less valuable to you if you can't liquidate it. That is a sad reality, in fact, that we must find ourselves in from time to time. This is one of those times, perhaps. Now, your personal situation, I would encourage you. I'm giving this report out based off of largely anecdotal evidence, but I trust that this Vermilion Enterprises shop, which I've heard about before, they're in Florida. They have connections across the country. They're seeing it. Let me know what your anecdotal experience is. What is your personal experience? Go into your local coin shops, ask them, what are they paying for silver? Are they buying it now? My guess is probably most still are, but they're paying a lot less for it now than they were even 3-6 months ago, above spot or below spot or what have you. Some items they may not even want at all. So those are the realities of the situation we find ourselves in. The best thing to do, if you can, is to get yourself in a position where you don't need to sell your silver in a time like this where everybody's trying to sell it because times are tough. The way to protect yourself is to indeed have more of these on hand so that you don't have to spend more of these or transfer them for these in a time of need. Silver is the ultimate insurance policy, and it should be at your disposal at a time to sell of your choosing, not in a time where you can't choose, when you have to sell. It's the ultimate insurance policy, and that is the case that it should be cashed out at a time that you desire or need to, no matter what happens in the overall market. And the overall economic situation we find ourselves in as a country. It should be personal, which means that you will have the luxury of selling at a time where not many other people are selling, if you need to, or of a time of your choosing to make a move, in a case with one member of the community here, Silver Bean Counter, where he sold a bunch of silver to help his mom get a house. A very noble effort, and that's exactly what it's there for. Made it and did very well in that endeavor. So there's other facts, or if you have a business, if you want to buy, invest in your business that you're operating or what have you, you sell some silver to do that. Or if you run into a situation where you want to go ahead and pay ahead on something and you're taking advantage of the higher prices, that's the way to do it. But it's a time of your choosing, not being forced to sell in a market where they don't want it, or they don't want it at the price that the market is saying it should be. So all things to keep in mind here. And thanks again for Silver Wolverine for posting this, because I think this is something that's very important to understand. Indeed, there is a silver surplus, and Vermilion Enterprises has started the hashtag silver surplus. And that should be trending now, because that's the reality of the matter we find ourselves in. If you are in a buying mode for silver, this is good news for you. You have the luxury of waiting. You can find some good deals out there. But again, you buy based off of your own understanding of the metal, not being pressured by anyone in the community or anywhere. You should buy based off of your understanding and the research that you've done on the metal. But typically, when things are unloved, that's the time to get in. And certainly during the last decade, when we saw this occur, that was the time to buy for sure, because silver's price was well below $20 an ounce. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section down below. Hope you found this video informative, insightful, and educational. I would like to extend a multitude of gratitude to each and every one of you for watching, and to encourage you to please rate, share, comment, and subscribe.